trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
Rock on, viewers. This is Acid Root. So I'm going to cover Punk Goes Pop Volume 2. This is basically, like the title says, a compilation of songs that punk artists did that are mainstream and have some pop-oriented stuff to them. You like some of the folks you're going to find on here is Justin Timberlake covers, Pussycat Dolls covers, Omarion from back in the day covers, Britney Spears, One Republic, that type of stuff. So there's a good assortment of things that kind of went along with this. I noticed this through Breathe Carolina because it had said on their biography that they had covered a song on this, and I said, "Oh, well, what's this sort of stuff? Let's see what this is about." They did a cover song. I like their music, so that it was Breathe Carolina that caught me on to this series. But I do kind of feel like it's interesting just because this is not any particular package of a musician. This is kind of like a Now album or something like that, where this is a collection of cover songs by other artists, but they're doing their variation and their variable of it. And I thought it was pretty clever to be able to see this sort of thing. I was not expecting. It's really, I mean, that's kind of typically something that I think a lot of people would healthily want, is to say, hey, you know, wouldn't it be cool for like Broken Side to do a cover of Sean Kingston, or to say like Breathe Carolina do a cover of Miley Cyrus, or like someone like the Cab doing a cover of Rihanna. That sort of stuff where you could say, yeah, I'd like to see a cover of a song like Umbrella, or I'd like to see a cover of a song like some other songs like that, you know, like My Love by Justin Timberlake, those type songs. I mean, it has the oriented stuff where I felt like it was definitely interesting to kind of get that sort of mess. But yeah, I don't know an overabundance of these punk musicians. I will say that there's quite a few of them on here, and really the first Punk Goes Pop, I think I want to say that one came out in 2002, but thing about it was I was expecting, like, I don't know if I would have thought like Good Charlotte would have been on there, or Blink 182 or some of those folks, but I do appreciate the musicians that showed up. I mean, it definitely shows that I've got a lot more to learn about punk music and emo music and those type things as far as that actively kind of goes, to say that there are a lot of good folks on here. I want to say that Ronnie Radke's on here with Escape the Fate. I want to say that that's the band he was still in back in 2009, 2008, and I want to say that like but I just don't know very many of these folks. There really wasn't a single, but I could talk about a couple of the songs that were the most popular on here. Like the two that got the most spins on Spotify were Apologize and then Over My Head Cable Car. Now, I don't know the song Over My Head Cable Car, but for that one, that's the most popular song from Spotify. Got 40 million plays. So I would have to say, to me, it sounds like a makeshift kind of song that you'd hear on the way home from work, something like that. Just the general 4:30 malaise, 5:15 malaise, where you just got off work, you're kind of, hey, you just kind of have that grogginess or whatever, getting ready to go grab a bite to eat, something like that. But I did appreciate it just within an emo pitch to kind of see how that kind of worked, because I don't really know the actual phrase song of that. So a lot of these just have like a particular punk edge to them that kind of breathes new life, kind of gives like an extra spice. If you've heard the standard song hundreds of times, like you probably have on the radio if you've listened to some of these, like Britney Spears' Baby One More Time, or Toxic, or Disturbia by Rihanna, those type songs. I mean, it's interesting to get like an extra variable on some of these to kind of say, hey, I like this kind of real punk kind of image that this portrays it, and it kind of gives it a more night-based feel and more evening feel and creepy feel in a lot of ways. So I definitely have that to say about that edge. But then like Apologize, I mean, I haven't heard that song in a while, but I do think I do like the original version of Apologize quite well. It's a pretty good song. I don't know how much this is one of the few songs where I felt like it didn't contribute too much, but I just haven't listened to Apologize in a while. But I did like the kind of ambient and kind of like dissonant kind of vibe from Apologize that kind of had. So those are just some of the most popular songs according to Spotify. But I'm going to go ahead and talk about some of these because there are 14 songs in here and I wound up liking 12. I'll just I'll go ahead and convey, I mean, not to pick on these songs, but I'll go ahead and list the two that I didn't enjoy just so you know the things. So the only two songs I didn't really enjoy that much were just Baby One More Time by August Burns Red as a cover of Britney Spears, and then When I Grow Up by Mayday Parade for Pussycat Dolls. Now, When I Grow Up, I wish that they would have picked a different single by Pussycat Dolls. I kind of felt like it was good to kind of have that song, but it just kind of felt a little bit kind of growing pains type song, and I kind of would have liked for them to have picked something like they could have picked Buttons by Pussycat Dolls. I don't really know their 2008 album too well, but they could have picked Buttons. They could have picked like Beep. I want to say that's another one that they could have picked. I mean, there could have been some good ones that would have been nice. I would have even taken like Don't You Wish Your Girlfriend Was Hot Like Me. That'd be interesting to get Mayday Parade saying that. That'd be kind of something. But then Baby One More Time was just way too rock based. I mean, I felt like that definitely needed. I don't know where that kind of stemmed from, getting like a full blown, because that felt like Slipknot kind of metal. That felt like, didn't feel like punk. It felt like a lot more metal. It just didn't really suit the kind of more sultry, kind of rhythmic and kind of flirtatious vibe of Baby One More Time. And just that one's, it was kind of struck me as odd. But other than that, there's a lot of stuff on this album that I liked. Like, I definitely liked the kind of dissonant and kind of distant and kind of this ambient Icebox by There for Tomorrow. That was a nice one. The surprising Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger, but the band that did it is Chiodos. So that's a song you probably heard if you've heard some late 90s 2000s movies and that type of stuff. This type of song that they'd play in the credits, or you'd hear at the end of the movie or something like that. That's a real clever one. And like, I was really surprised by Toxic. Static Lullaby did a great job making that into like a rock song. That's the better variation of the Britney Spears song, at least in my opinion. I really felt like Toxic is a great song to kind of get a rock pitch. They put the screams in there perfectly. That just worked extremely well. And Britney Spears had I mean, Toxic was already kind of a moody song, but they kind of made it even. They turned the moodiness up by like 5-6 fold by doing that. Like, I really liked I Kissed a Girl, that one by Attack Attack as a cover of Katy Perry. That they turned in that song into like an LMFAO 303 type song. Really felt electronic. That just kicked ass the whole way through. Love Song was like a nice kind of pissed off in the car type song, kind of like a car argument. I don't know Sarah Bareilles. I think it's Sarah Bareilles. I don't know her. I just looked up how to pronounce that, but Sarah Bareilles. I don't know her original version, but to me it kind of came off as like a kind of in the car, a little bit pissed off, kind of driving around, this kind of makeshift, this kind of relationship argument in the car type song. And Disturbia was really good. I mean, I really like Rihanna's version of Disturbia, but this is another excellent one. It's just, that's kind of a perfect song to go punk for. The Cab did a good job of picking that as far as like a nice kind of punk rock kind of song. It just worked out extremely well. It's a perfect song for a rock tinge as Disturbia. See You Again by Breathe Carolina was another electronic song that really kicked ass. I mean, I haven't heard the original song by Miley Cyrus, but it makes me wonder if it had that same kind of pitch, or Breathe Carolina breathed that much life into it just on their own. So it's a great variation. Beautiful Girls is a nice kind of summer, but for the most part, emo music is not really seen in the summertime. It was interesting to kind of get a perfect summer song, because like back in 2007 2008, Sean Kingston's Beautiful Girls was just something that you heard everywhere around beaches and swimming pools and that type of stuff. This perfect summer song. It was interesting to kind of get an emo variation of a summer song. And like yeah, so I think that about describes it. And like, What Goes Around Comes Around has a nice kind of extra kind of, I like the screaming on there. They did a nice job with Justin Timberlake. They picked a good song. I mean, they could have went with another one. They could have went with like Sexy Back or something, but they went with What Goes Around Comes Around, and they pulled it off rather well. It just worked in terms of the screaming and the kind of the variables as far as like the melodies that song had. It just worked well. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think I covered just about everything. Oh yeah, Smooth by Ronnie Radke. So that's kind of the situation there. That was like a Latin rock kind of song, and it just works well. I mean, they made it a song of themselves. This feels like a nice kind of hazy late summer, kind of having a few beers type stuff, just at like some house party. It just really worked well. So there's a number of songs on here that just really kick a lot of ass. That just relatively happens to be a thing. The whole thing just had some really good vibes. But I'll say some of the ones that I would definitely listen to upon buying this project would be Disturbia, Toxic, I Kissed a Girl, See You Again, Smooth, and Icebox. Those are all excellent ones, just right immediately as far as that kind of goes. Those have some real good ones. So I'm gonna give this album a 10 out of 10. I feel like this is really clever, real clever concept. Real, the artist breathed new life into these songs, which is what the idea that they should be doing. They pulled off what they were attempting to do. Really gives some extra vibes. And for songs that you've heard hundreds of times at work and in the car and on the way home and places where you hear pop music on the radio, it kind of puts a new pitch in there, nice little punk pitch, emo pitch, scene pitch, just to kind of give it some new variables, just to kind of do that. I mean, I think if you've heard Toxic by Britney Spears 100,000 times, well, it's good to kind of get this variable of it and say, oh, well, this is the punk version of that. And it's the same thing with like Baby One More Time, Apologize, What Goes Around Comes Around by Justin Timberlake. It's just good to kind of get that in the motion. So the social score is a little bit difficult. I mean, I'd probably give it like an 8 just because there should have been a single. I guess that would have, I don't know if it would have hurt any of the other artists' feelings by there being a single and then them liking it for that song. But I would have thought that some of these, I think the musicians that did the song probably would have not cared if a cover song would have been a single. Probably I would have liked that, seeing a music video of any of these songs to see which ones they would have chose or something. That's just kind of the situation. But it does have some nice social vibes. A lot of these are lead singles that they covered and work great for like a social setting, going out, having a few beers, backyard party, club setting. I mean, some of these can work as like a nice social kind of venue and stuff. Basically about everything minus like Makeshift. I mean, I feel like Over My Head and Love Song kind of did it, but with the screaming kind of in there, it could work just depending upon how flexible the job is and that type of stuff. But it is at least intended to kind of be somewhat makeshift, but just not to be overtly by the book taken seriously. I just think, but it works. It's something that can be a neighbor of it, I would say. But that's kind of the concept. So 10 out of 10, 8 social. And I don't know if they've done things in terms of the future. I'm not sure if they've done more of these. I know that they've done at least 7, but I just would have to say it works for what it is. Maybe they'll do a few more of these. I could review more of these. I'll just have to see what else kind of goes along with it. But this is definitely quite the burst of positive kick acidness that I think is worth checking out.